Good morning. Leslie Benson here with the Plaid Poodle. We're having a different coffee and a card this morning. I usually come on in the afternoon on Wednesdays here in the States, but I've just got a wonky week. So we're going to have a wonky Wednesday and have coffee and a card this morning, which kind of makes a little bit more sense. I've already had my coffee and I'm still 9 minutes late. I apologize. I have, my mom is in the hospital. It's nothing life-threatening, just some things that have been bothering her. And so my week has just been, you know how that goes. She's on the mend. And if you're here, I would love to say hello. I'm going to turn on my comments here. So I see that there are some eyes on me. If you would just say hello and or wave. I do send cards out to people who attend the live and leave comments or watch the replay and leave comments. I put everybody's name in a drawing and send you the card that we made that day. So I usually do that once or twice a month, so they kind of stack up a little bit. But hi, Donna. But they do get out in the mail, and I do that. So I have a little stack waiting over here, ready to go the next time I'm at the post office. I try to save all of my post office duties to about once or twice a month. Love the post office, support the post office, but just like to get it all done. It's efficient, more efficient that way. So let's get started. Today we are going to make a fun little shaker card. And I got home, or I was creating this pretty late last night, and so that's why I was a little late this morning. Hi, Loopy. A little late this morning getting, I had the card made, but I needed to grab all my stuff. Greenwood is less frustrating. Well, that's closer to me anyway. I need to try that. I love the gals over here at the Lee Summit Post Office. They're so nice and friendly, but there's a lot of traffic. And, you know, I don't have too much trouble depending on what time I go. Anyway, this is the card we're going to make. I'm using the bundle from the annual catalog. Find the punch. It's the Jar of Flowers stamp set with the coordinating jar punch. And I'm using the jar image and yay, Halloween, and the little lid image for this card. Also, if you place an order, don't forget in August, if it's under $150, use the August host code and your name will go in for a drawing to win the Flying Home stamp set. It is a red rubber stamp set. It's a former hostess stamp set, so not easy to obtain unless you're a host. You were a hostess back, I think about last catalog or catalog before. Anyways, might have been one of the spring catalogs. We're also using the Plaid Tidings 6x6 designer series paper. I love this. I have a shirt that looks like this. And I think in the 70s I had some shorts that look like this, but that's for another day. Okay. The card is fairly easy. It's just a little tricky because we're going to be punching through actually 4 layers. So I'm going to show you how I did that. You don't really want to force your punch. And a helpful tip, if you find your punch is getting a little dull, you can sharpen it by punching some aluminum foil, and that will sharpen the punch. But you don't want to force too many layers in a punch. So I'm going to show you how I did this with 4 layers to create the shaker card. And I'm going to show you how I made the little candy corn confetti. Out with my little bag of goodies. If I learned how to make this candy corn back in the 90s when I was really a prolific scrapbooker. I was scrapbooking a lot more back then, and the candy corn was easy to make because you just use circles, and it was good for Halloween pages. So you can make them as big as you want or as small as you want. Here's some that I tried, but I felt like these were a little too big for my little jar. This is a circle I made last night. I used bigger circles. See how that's going to work? And I'm using the layering circles dies. I'm using the 2 smallest circles. The biggest of the smallest is going to be out of crushed curry. I wanted to use some Halloween colors and of course pumpkin pie. And then to get the little, since I'm using the 2 smallest dies, I'm using a 3/4 inch punch. This is a retired punch. Stampin' Up! No longer carries it. If you don't have a smaller punch or a smaller circle die, you could even trace around, what size is that? Maybe a dime? And just cut out a circle. But I just used that. Also, you could make your candy corn a little bigger. I also tried, because we are going to use the Playful Alphabet dies, I tried the inside of the O. And actually, this O, I think this is a 0. I think I figured this out because each of the vowels have 2 dies. There's 2 A's, 2 E's. And there's 2 of these, so I'm thinking these are the O's, and there's only 1 of these, so that's a 0. So I think I figured that out last night. So I used zeros for this card. I'm going to use the O's for this card, but I did try to use the inside of this O. It's a little smaller than that, but it would work. Okay, so what I've already punched out my 3/4 inch Whisper White circle with my 3/4 inch punch. And then we're going to die cut these circles out. And I have already done that as well. That's why I was 10 minutes late. I should have just come on and die cut in front of you. Then I wouldn't have been late. I just gave you guys some extra time to grab some coffee, right? Are y'all coffee drinkers out there, Donna and Loopy? Are you coffee drinkers or tea drinkers? I am definitely a coffee drinker. But I kind of limit myself to a couple cups a day. Okay, and then since I'm going to cut these apart in little pie shapes. Hi, Carol. Oh, you're taking care of your son's cat? No worries. I was late too, so we're late together. I'm just getting started. I'm showing how I made my candy corn confetti in my little shaker card here. Which, like I said, this is a real old trick, and you all might be very familiar with this. Because I made bunches of candy corn back in the 90s for scrapbook pages. When my kiddos were little, we had a lot of Halloween pictures. Okay, so I've adhered all the circles together. So I have like a bullseye here. And then you're just going to cut them in half. Cut that circle in half. And then cut the halves in half. And then cut the fourths in half. And then you have tiny little, didn't get enough adhesive on my white. Tiny little, I love shaker cards too. I don't make enough of them. They're fun. Tiny little candy corns. And see how these are a little smaller than the ones I started with last night. I decided I wanted smaller ones for my little jar. And get so then I'm going to take the other half and cut it in half, and then cut those halves in half. And we end up with 8 little candy corns. Any candy corn lovers out there? We like to mix ours with peanuts. And we keep a bowl, usually around the fall, we keep a bowl of peanuts and candy corn around because it tastes like a payday. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside. But that's how I got the little candy corns for the confetti in there. Then I'm going to take a card base. I've got a 8.5 by 5.5 pumpkin pie, scored at 4 1/4 on the 8.5 inch side and folded in half. That's an A2 card base. You're not a fan of candy corn, Loopy? I don't really care for it by itself, but I do like it with peanuts mixed in. It tastes like a payday bar. But now that I'm off sugar, I'm going to have to avoid the candy corn and peanut mixture. Okay, so then my second layer on this card is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic black. And we're going to work with it and these strips. I've got a strip of, I believe this is 2 3/4 by 6 crushed curry. And then the pumpkin pie is 2 3/8 by 6. And then our designer series paper is 2 by 6. That way you can get 3 of these cards or types of cards out of one sheet of designer series paper. And you don't waste a whole lot. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take my jar punch. This is the tricky part for this card. Oh, thank you, Debbie. And I'm just sticking the basic black in the punch. I'm lining the right-hand side up with the edge of the punch, the outside edge of the punch, and I'm putting it up as far into the punch as it will go. It's stopped. I can't punch any higher than that. So I want to make sure we got a straight line here. I want my jar to be wonky. Although this is my wonky week and my wonky Wednesday. There. This is lined up right here with this edge, and I've got it all the way inserted into the punch. So then I have this little jar that I can use for another project. Now I'm going to adhere. I'm going to decide where I want this piece. This is the 2 3/4 by 6. And I'm kind of leaving, an equal amount on the top and the bottom. So a 6-inch should fit from corner to corner. On my sample, I've kind of lined this corner up with this corner and then determined how much space. I'm just eyeballing it. Don't fret over getting it perfect. Nobody's going to get out a measure and measure it. And I'm going to use Cot. Sometimes our new adhesive is so strong that I find it tears our cardstock. If I'm not, it's user error, I'm sure. I use a real hard pressure, and I don't think I need to use that hard of a pressure. So I tried not to put any adhesive down on this part. If I did, it's not going to be a big deal. And I'm going to trim all this excess off later. So now, remember I said you really don't want to punch more than one layer with your punch. They're heavy duty and they're very good, but you don't want to jam it and you also don't want to break it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to turn it over the back side, and I'm going to fit the punch in there, right in the center of the black one. And I got a little of the black, but that's going to be okay because once we put our jar in, it's going to take care of all of that other. Okay, so there we've got that first layer. Now we're going to take the pumpkin pie and kind of do the same thing. We're going to lay it on top of here. Now, last night when I was working on my sample, I tried to punch these before I adhered them down, but it's just impossible. I felt it was impossible, and maybe some of you engineering minds out there could figure out how to do it, because I was thinking there has to be a way to maybe make a template or something that you could punch these prior to adhering them to the front of the card. But this is how I ended up doing it. So I'm going to turn it back around again, the back side, and I'm going to punch that orange out, or that pumpkin pie. And I'm getting too much layers in, but I can see where it's punched, so I can come around the front. You just have to kind of work with it. I'm never going to force my punch because I don't want to break my punch. So just be patient, be chill, and it all works. Now I'm going to put the DSP on. You know, we invest too much in our tools to be very disappointing to break them. I have repaired a punch before though, y'all. So if it's user error and you, I have taken one apart and put it back together. Okay, now I've got this final little DSP, and it shouldn't be too hard. What's happening is I'm grabbing a little bit of the extra, which is okay. So there's our front. See? It just takes a little bit of time and patience. Now you're going to want to trim off this excess. You can use some scissors. I'm going to use my trimmer just because I'm obsessive that way. I'm just going to line that up and trim off that excess off the edges. Thank you, Carol. I don't know if it was clever. I wanted to make a shaker card, and I wanted to have these layers, and I wanted them to be diagonal, so I just made it work. You know how you get something in your head and you just want to do it? That was me last night. Okay, so I've trimmed the edges off, so there's our layer. It's going to go on our card front, but first we have to make our little shaker. So I've got a piece of, or I'm going to use the jar image and the lid image, and I'm using Memento Black ink, and obviously I forgot to include some Whisper White. So I'm going to use a scrap of Whisper White, and punch our jar out. And then I'm going to stamp the little mason jar lid image. and punch it out. Probably should have put that down toward the bottom. Okay, then I'm going to just take my snips and trim the bottom. Okay. So we've got that, and we've got that. Now we need our little mason jar shaker dome. These come in a box of 10. And that's going to fit right in there, but I need something to adhere this to. And I didn't want to mess around with trying to fit it on the card front and center everything. So if you're better at that than you could do it that way, but I did it probably the hard way. And I just took a scrap of Whisper White paper for the backing. Sorry about that, guys. And here we go. And I'm just going to make it fit, if you know what I mean. So that I'm making its own little shaker. Like this is how I would make a shaker tag, actually. So I have a little backing, and I'm going to trim this excess off later. Now, these are kind of staticky. And I took my embossing buddy, which Stampin' Up! No longer carries, but you could take a dryer sheet just to try and get the static out of there a little bit. I think it kind of wears off after a while. But I noticed all of my candy corns were sticking to the front. So I put my 8 little candy corns in there, and then I also took the white gems out of the Flowers for Every Season. I didn't want any green ones in there. I think it would be fine. It would just appear like you had some green candy in there. I just wanted a little bit more shaky shake stuff. These are more round. The green ones are more gem shaped. Some of these are gem shaped, the little smaller ones. And you don't need a whole lot. I just wanted to add a few little extra something in with my candy corn to kind of jostle it around. Okay, now we're going to put this here. I'm going to take the, whatever you call that, the backing. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to this piece of Whisper White. If you guys can see what I'm doing here. I haven't been showing my face. There. Sorry about that. I just got right down to it. When I'm late like that, it kind of gets me all discombobulated. Okay, then this is the trick part. This is where I don't, because I want to make sure that jar is right in the center, and it is. But I don't want my gems to fall out like they just did. And there's probably an easier way to do this too, y'all. I probably should have put the gems on top of the jar and then laid the shaker dome over top. That is what I should have done. Now I've got a gem stuck under stuck under my jar. Here we go. You guys get to see all my little mishaps, so when you do it, you won't have any. Okay, there we go. There's our little shaker. So if you wanted to make a little shaker tag to hang on the side of your candy bag, that's how I would do it. Now I'm just trimming off this extra Whisper White that's showing from behind, which I don't know that's necessary because we're going to glue this underneath our layer anyway, but that is what I'm doing. Okay, now I can put this here and I can feel comfortable that it's going to be in the right place on the front of the card. That's why I did it the hard way. Oh, okay. So I'm going to use a little, oh, actually, I don't need to use any liquid glue because there is I think there is another, yeah, sticky thing that we can pull off. And we can lay this right over top. So there's that layer. Now we're going to just put this on. You like the way I did it? Oh my gosh. Next time I would put the whatever's, the sprinkles, I would put those on the jar and then lay the dome on top of that, but it works. Okay. Then we're just going to adhere this to the front of our card and we're almost done. Now think about this with Christmas paper, and what could you put in here? Snowflakes or mini marshmallows? That would be kind of cute. I wonder if it would be safe to use like a food item in there. They would just get really dry and hard. But those, not the mini marshmallows, but they have those like those micro mini ones if you're lucky enough to find them. That would be cute for Christmas time. Okay, we're going to take our little lid, and I am just going to use a mini glue dot for that. For Valentine's Day, you could use some conversation hearts. That would be cute. Use some pink paper. Just always try and think outside the box. You know, just because the stamp set has flowers on it doesn't mean you have to use it for the way it was intended. I always like to think of different ways to use something. Okay, I've basically just adhered that lid that we stamped right over top. Then we're going to punch out boo and an exclamation point mark. And I just used the BOO from the Playful Alphabet. And I cut those out of black so they would show up over our, but I've lost them. Now they didn't run away. They haven't run away. There's just another baggie somewhere. Here it is. What I would do is just take a piece of basic black and cut out those letters with my die cutting machine, which I already did, so you all wouldn't have to sit and watch me. And those little tiny periods for the exclamation mark are very small. Now I'm going to show you a trick I talked about before, but I might have to go grab something. I thought I had it right around here. Hold tight, everyone. I just used it last night at 10 o'clock, so I know it's around here. Fancy that. It was where it's supposed to be. I actually put something away. Press and seal. This is an old Jennifer McGuire trick. And rumor has it her husband invented press and seal. I don't know if that's true, but that's what rumor has. And I don't need this much, so I'm just going to cut a little bit out. And then I'm going to get my letters all lined up. Have you guys seen this done before? Because this has been around a while too. I just ran out and never got any more. When I was working on this last night, I remembered this would be a good technique to use for this. So I've got my my sentiment all lined up, and I'm going to just press that press and seal right on top of that. Then I'm going to very gently pick it up. And just put a little bit of liquid glue on the backs of my letters. Doesn't take much of this multi-purpose liquid glue. Once you got some, it really holds. And then I decide where I want it on my card. Kind of centered right there. And press it down. And then very gently pull it up. And then your it's placed exactly where you want it, and it's straight, and I just think that's a fun trick. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. If you were late, I think I figured out on these dies, there are 2 vowels, and so there were 2 of these bigger O's. I was considering the 0, which is a little smaller, an O, but there's only 1 0, so there were 2 of these O's, and I like the bigger O's. Y'all? I mean, it's fine, but I like that bigger. If you needed to fit more into smaller space, you'd use the 0. Okay, the final thing I did, the final 2 things I did, was I just took a piece of this glittered organdy ribbon, which is always fun for Halloween type projects. I'm so glad Stampin' Up! Carried this over. And I just tied a little knot. I didn't want a big bow to kind of distract from the shaker. But we needed something. And I try to make as neat a bow as I can. I mean, knot. A knot is a knot, right? Can you make a pretty knot? I don't know. And then I decide which side I think looks better. And I use the mini glue dots to was that press and seal new to some of you all, Donna and Loopy? Because I think it's been around a long while. That's the first time I've demonstrated it, but it's really clever. And if you have a bunch of layers, I don't have a layered card in front of me, of small little, no, I don't have any. Let's say you have a lot of little flowers and stems and things. You could arrange it how you like it, then put that press and seal over it, and then put your glue on and turn it over onto your card. It's really a cool idea. So far I use tinfoil. I have a roll of tinfoil in my craft room. I have a roll of wax paper in my craft room, and press and seal. Sometimes it gets stolen and taken back up to the kitchen when I run out up there, but that's what I do. And I had one more announcement I wanted to share. The layers reminded me. Today is the last day if you wanted to sign up or register for the August card class to go. I love this. I love these cards, but I love autumn type cards. Don't we all? Yes, I'm going to put actually I used, you could use rhinestones. I used some sequins, but we'll put those on in just a minute, Carol. Before I forgot, I wanted to mention that if you are interested in the August card class to go, these are the cards that you would make. You would get everything to make these. And I will be placing orders for the bundles tomorrow. So, and start cutting and getting those ready to go out. So all the information for that is over on my blog, theplaidpoodle.com. Go to the online classes tab and you'll see everything you need to know about that. So I didn't want to forget to mention that because today is the last day. But see these layers? I don't know if the press and seal would work for that, but it certainly would work for these leaves. You could get them all on there and then do that. So it's a handy little tip to keep in mind is with the press and seal. Okay, yes, Carol reminded me I used sequins. You could use rhinestones. Rhinestones would be pretty because of the silver ribbon. So we'll do that. We'll grab some rhinestones. I like that. I'm going to grab I use silver sequins on this one, but I kind of like, we'll just shake it up a little bit. Plus these are easier to stick on because they're already, they already have adhesive on them. And I don't have to glue them. Okay, that is today's card. I think it's so cute. Now I have to make 2 more for 4 grandchildren. Any questions about anything? Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the likes. Thank you guys for joining me today. I don't have anything to say. I'm tired. Do you know how it is when you have someone in the hospital? You're coming and going and lots of other extra things, and I'm just a little tired today. So thanks for understanding, and I'm glad you learned something. I always try to add something that will make it worth your while. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Have a great, what was I calling today? Wacky Wednesday. Have a great Wacky Wednesday. Talk to you later.